they did not anticipate the scale of anger and rejection within the country, first of all. I don't think they were anticipating that people would react so sharply to this and in such a sophisticated way. So, as we know, there have not only been protests, but the civil disobedience movement, I think, has caught them by surprise. In addition, I don't think they anticipated the scale of the international reaction. I'm sure they did not expect the UN Security Council to be able to get a statement out, and that they did not expect ASEAN partners to be so clear in their view of the unacceptability of the coup, and in particular, how unacceptable it would be if the military were to use further repression and violence against peaceful protesters.
And yet these military generals are hardened suppressors of dissent. They have killed hundreds, arrested thousands before.
They have. And the big risk is that it won't be different this time, and that's that they will escalate. And in fact, we've seen they have escalated in recent days, their response to this. There are differences this time. I mentioned the sophistication of the protesters. On top of that, you have social media and the fact that people have phones and they can use those phones to film. In 1988 and in 2007, the military was much more able to control what was known about what was going on, and that is far less the case now.
They also have an ambassador at the UN General Assembly waving salutes to the protesters and publicly denouncing the military government. Will that make much difference?
I think it was extraordinary. I think it was an act of courage that I'm sure many diplomats might have wished at some point in their careers they had taken. But obviously the circumstances in this case were particularly extreme. I think it will have shaken them, and it was a message that reverberated around the world. His people will look to that. People who perhaps weren't aware of what was going on will have seen it, and that will have kept the profile of rejection of what has happened up, and that is so important.
What that ambassador also told us was that Myanmar desperately needed international help from the same people who've turned their back on Aung San Suu Kyi in the past for understandable reasons.
I think it is absolutely crucial that the international community, not just the usual suspects in the West, and it's very good to see countries like the US and the UK and what they're doing and keeping up the volume. We've seen that other countries in the region have done that, and it's vitally important that countries continue to do that. You know, this election is obviously at one level, it is about Daw Aung San Suu Kyi in that she won the election by a landslide. But what it's really about is that this is the will of the Myanmar people. And they were the ones who voted in droves for her. And at that same time that they were voting for her, they were rejecting the military party. So this is about whatever people's views on Aung San Suu Kyi, and I think there have been some bad misrepresentations of her position. But this is about the Myanmar people and respecting their wish for democracy and respecting their rights.
But the damage that she personally has done to the democratic brand in Myanmar is not going to matter, or will it?
I would question that damage to the democratic brand in Myanmar because, frankly, without her, there wouldn't be a democratic brand in Myanmar. Now, nobody can gloss over what happened in Rakhine State, but who were the perpetrators? They were the very people who have seized power now.
So how many more people do you think have to die in protests before this revolution can win?
Oh, God. I mean, I think we must all hope that the military see sense and restore the democratically elected government. I mean, nobody could possibly put a figure on that. The worrying fact of this is the military have painted themselves into a very small corner. And it's very difficult to see how they move out of that corner without a capitulation, which, frankly, is not in their DNA. I thought the Singapore Prime Minister put it incredibly well. You know, this is unacceptable to use lethal force against your citizens who are protesting peacefully.